Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of Uncovering Your Inner Power. Today, I want to talk about something that I feel isn't discussed nearly enough in our society, and yet it holds some of the deepest wisdom available to us, and that is the wisdom of the crone. If you've never heard of the term crone before, it comes from ancient traditions and refers to the stage of a woman's life associated with wisdom, experience, and inner authority. While the word has taken on negative connotations over time, its original meaning is deeply respectful. A crone is a woman who has lived through many of life's experiences and has gained insight, resilience, and perspective as a result. She often serves as a guide or mentor, offering wisdom, not from theory, but from lived experience. I've always felt very comfortable with older women. There has always been something about their presence that just felt grounding, safe, just knowing. Now, I'm sure part of that comes from being raised by my grandmother. There's no doubt that shaped me in profound ways. But I also believe there's something deeper at play because when you really look at it, women hold a very unique and sacred role in the world. Not only are we physically designed to grow and nurture life within our bodies, but there is something within the feminine energy itself that's deeply intuitive, deeply aware, deeply connected. We feel things, we sense things, we pick up on what's unspoken. And because of that sensitivity, because of that openness, life touches us in a very profound way. And those touches, those experiences, those wounds, those triumphs, those heartbreaks, they don't just pass through us. They shape us, they refine us, and they teach us. And that is where the crone comes in. The crone is not just an older woman. She's not defined by age alone. A crone is a woman who has lived, a woman who has walked through fire and come out the other side with wisdom instead of bitterness. She is a woman who has experienced enough of life to understand something that younger versions of ourselves simply cannot grasp. That things don't always go the way we want them to, but somehow they go the way they are meant to. And from that place, she becomes a guide. Not through force, not through control, but through presence, through knowing, and through deep compassion. A true crone doesn't stand above others and say, "Do as I say." She stands beside them and says, "I've walked a similar path, and I want to help make yours a little softer." She offers perspective, she offers patience, she offers understanding. Not because she read it in a book, but because she lived it. I remember for so much of my life looking at older women with this sense of awe, watching how they handled things, the way they could face challenges with what seemed like grace, dignity, patience. And I'll be honest, there were many times I would feel frustrated with myself because I didn't have that. I would lose my temper. I would react emotionally. I would say things I regretted later. And more times than I can count, I found myself apologizing for things I had said or done in the heat of a moment. And then I would wonder, why can't I just be like that? Why can't I be calm like them? Why can't I respond with patience instead of emotion? Why does everything feel so intense? But here's what I didn't understand back then. You don't become the crone by skipping the fire. You become the crone because of it. That patience, it was forged through moments where they lost their patience. That compassion, it was born from times they judged themselves or others, and they learned a better way. that calm presence, it came from walking through storms that once shook them to their core. There's a refinement process that happens in a woman's life, and it's not always gentle. Sometimes it looks like heartbreak. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it looks like failure, or it looks like falling apart, and not knowing how you'll ever pull yourself back together again. But every single one of those moments is shaping you, is strengthening you, is deepening your understanding of life, of people, of yourself. And here's the part that I think is so important to recognize. We live in a society that often fears aging, that tries to preserve youth at all costs, that tells women their value diminishes somehow over time. And I'm just going to say it, that couldn't be further from the truth. Because if you really look at it, a woman doesn't lose her power as she ages. She comes into it. The younger years are about learning, feeling, experiencing, sometimes overreacting, sometimes underreacting, trying to figure it all out. But the later years, that's where the integration happens. That's where things start to make sense. That's where you begin to see patterns, to understand people more deeply, to recognize that not everything needs a reaction, that not everything is worth your energy. That piece is more valuable than being right. And I can say for myself, as I've gotten older, I see this shift happening within me. I am more patient, more compassionate, more understanding. I don't always react the way I used to. And when I do, I come back to center much faster. I now realize I've walked through enough of life to see things differently. And that perspective, that is the gift. That is the wisdom. That is the essence of the crone. But here is something else I want to say, and this is important. You don't have to wait until you're older to begin accessing this energy, because the crone is not just a stage of life. She is an archetype, a frequency, a way of being. Every time you pause instead of react, every time you choose compassion over judgment, every time you offer guidance from love instead of ego, you're tapping into that energy. And the more you honor your experiences instead of judging them, the more wisdom you extract from them. Nothing you have gone through is wasted. Not the pain, not the mistakes, not the moments you wish you could redo. Those are the very things that are shaping you into someone who can one day turn around and help someone else. Because that's really what the crone does. She doesn't pretend life is easy. She doesn't bypass pain. She doesn't sugarcoat reality. She simply says, I've been there, and I'm here with you, and I'm here for you. And in a world that often feels chaotic, fast, and disconnected, that kind of presence is everything. So if you're in a season of your life right now where things feel hard, where you feel like you're being tested, where you feel like you're in the fire, I want you to hear this. You are not being broken. You're being forged. You're being shaped into a woman who will one day carry wisdom, depth, and a presence that others will feel safe in. And maybe, just maybe, you're already closer than you think. Because if you can look back on your life and see how far you've come, if you can recognize even one moment where you handled something better than you would have in the past, that's growth. That's wisdom. That's the crone beginning to emerge. So honor that. Honor your journey. Honor your fire. Because one day you may be the woman someone else looks at with awe, with admiration, and with gratitude for the wisdom you carry. And that, beautiful souls, is the power of the crone. And as we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Honor where you are on your journey. Whether you feel like you're still in the fire or you're beginning to see the wisdom on the other side, it's all part of your becoming. Nothing you've lived through is wasted. Every experience is shaping you into a woman who carries depth, compassion, and a wisdom that someone else may need one day. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to take a moment to share it with another woman in your life who might need this message today. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes where we continue exploring healing, growth, and stepping into your inner power. And if you feel called to go deeper, I invite you to join my community by signing up for my newsletter. I share additional insights, tools, and reflections to support you on your journey. And as a thank you, you'll also receive my Learn to Love Yourself workbook as a gift. You can find that link in the show notes. Thank you for being here, for doing this work, and for honoring your own path. And as always, keep uncovering your inner power. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I truly honor you for being here and for choosing to do this deeper work. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to stay connected. You can sign up for my newsletter at empoweredbythestorm.com/newsletter. And when you do, you'll receive a free copy of my How to Love Yourself workbook as a thank you. My book, Empowered by the Storm, is also available on Amazon if you'd like to go deeper into this work on your own time. And if you're feeling called to more personal support, you can visit my website to explore private coaching and see if it feels like the right next step for you. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, trust your journey, and remember, your healing matters.